Hello and welcome back to the ME7 podcast. Tonight we are joined by a man who, well, really spent most of his Gills career playing behind closed doors. He played the majority of it in front of no supporters, but he did play for us near enough 90 times in that time. It is the big man, John Akinde. John, thank you ever so much for agreeing to come on. How are you, buddy?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you. Yourself?
Yeah, not bad. Owen. Yeah, a great guest. One of the more recent Gills players to have on, but certainly a fantastic guest nonetheless.
Yeah, another good one to get through. Obviously, it's great to have a more recent one as well. Obviously, we all like the nostalgia factor of players we had back in the 2009 season, but good to get one. It's got a nice insight into the club currently and how we are.
Yeah, John, you joined Gills back in January 2010 then, 2020. You were near, it was near enough a deadline day move, but not quite. It was 3 days before deadline day. Yeah, tell us how the move came about.
Just through, obviously I've worked with Steve Evans before in the past at Crawley, so he's given me a call and just said, do you want to come down? Do you want to play for me? Obviously I've had you before, I think you'd help the team. And we just started discussing from there, and yeah, it got it done in the end.
It's one of those where you sort of said your own sort of agent in terms of get some more information on that in terms of the deal.
Just simply that. While I was at Lincoln, I didn't have an agent, and obviously when he called me, again, I didn't have an agent. So it was sort of like the first, I've done my own contracts before, but it was sort of like the first deal I was doing, say, trying to leave Lincoln and join sort of another team. So it was like talking to Lincoln, talking to Steve Evans at the time. So that was a little bit stressful. It was new and experience, which was right. But yes, I managed just like negotiate everything myself and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, it was a good experience.
Yeah, obviously, John, at the time, it was rumours for ages that we were after a forward. Your name popped up. It was a time where we weren't scoring a lot of goals. We needed a forward, and then kind of your rumours come up that you were a local lad. Obviously, you're born in Gravesend as well. So it was. How was that for you? That knowing that the club needed a forward so badly, knowing that you were going to you were going to a manager that you played for before. Was there any sort of pressure, or was it kind of it was fine?
No, there's no pressure at all. There's always like pressure in football, whether it be, like I said, you need a striker, or whether you're trying to push for the playoffs, trying to avoid relegation, at the top of the league, trying to get. Do you get what I mean? There's always something within football that's like pressure. So it didn't really. It was. I wanted to be part of it. You know, at the time they were like hovering in and around the playoffs, so it was a very good time to join.
Then obviously you did end up making your debut. I think it's against Town. We won 2-0 at home. I remember you blitzed the defender on the left hand side, won us a penalty. I think you probably a bit, because you've had quite throughout your career, you've been one of those players who's been taking a lot of penalties to the team. But I think Ollie Lee took it off you that night. He did score it, to be fair.
Yeah.
A really impressive debut from yourself. Just describe to us how it was making your debut in front of the Preachville faithful, and obviously getting the right result as well. Yeah,
it was lovely. I remember it, like you said, going on the left against Shrewsbury, I think it was. And no, it was lovely. The atmosphere was great. Great to get the win. Obviously, we would like to score, but it was great to, I guess, get sort of an assist or win the pen, should I say. I think you watched the whole game. I did get an assist. So yeah, it was a good start, good couple of games.
Yeah, because the thing is, John, as well, I was there that night, and it seemed like you walked out onto the pitch, and the whole faithful were kind of like, we've got a striker, we've got a forward that knows where the back of the net is. Did you feel that as well? That the Preachville faithful kind of almost took to you instantly, and you were like, you're one of ours now?
Definitely. I felt it in the game, felt it after the game. It was great. It's always nice when you feel the love from the fans. Definitely when your work's appreciated.
Yeah, and the rest of the campaign was weird as well for you. Then was that you signed in January, and by the March, the season was done. It was locked down, and how was that for you? Was that you just joined the club and then it locked down?
Obviously frustrating. Obviously, you want to get into a team and just hit the ground running. You know, that's the, I guess, aim for most players. So obviously, but it was very unique. Like, it's never happened in football. So initially, we thought I was going to be off for like a week or so, but then obviously it just kept on carrying on for the next 5 months, I think it was. So yeah, it was strange. But at the time, I guess football was not really at the forefront of my mind. You know, when you're hearing about a disease that can possibly kill you and stuff like that, your family, you can't go to your family. So even though it was frustrating, I think I felt it more when we went back into football, thinking, I would have liked to continue, because obviously I joined from Lincoln, having been on 9 goals or something like that. So I wanted to get even more goals when I joined. So I guess I was frustrated that the season ended like quickly. But like I said, it was obviously for a crazy reason.
Yeah, I think we might have been 9th or 10th at the time. We were just below like playoff places. So, you know, it's definitely one of those weird times where you sort of look back now thinking, well, if it could have continued, we might have been here, we might have not been. But I suppose you'll never know. Just a question about when you did come back. Obviously, It was all closed doors. We all know that. No one enjoyed it. The old I follow season, we call it. What's it like as a player? Because obviously before games you get, you know, psyched up in your head about getting ready for the game, and you know you're going to be walking out to the pitch. But what's the difference in that season where, you know, you're getting geared up, you walk out onto the pitch, look at there's just no one there?
I think just initially, like, we played like the friendlies behind closed doors, and I guess friendlies you don't really have much crowds. So it wasn't until like we went into the first game of the season and it was empty, and you're just like, oh, it's strange. It feels like a friendly. It feels like a training game because there's no atmosphere. You can hear every word the manager's saying, and obviously he was loud, so you can hear everything. So we can hear everything. So that was a bit different, like just hearing maybe each other more as well. You can actually hear the players, because sometimes it gets so loud you can't hear anything. You know what I mean? You got to use sort of like eye contact and stuff to communicate with players. So I guess it was that, just the lack of atmosphere. But it was something that I guess you sort of got used to, because the whole season without no fans, you get used to it. And then obviously coming back, it was getting used to fans being in, getting abuse, or the cows getting rowdy, and like, it was strange both ways.
Yeah, because during that lockdown season, you end up playing 44 times. You end up playing quite a lot of football that season, and obviously with the people around you, Jordan Graham, Verdane Oliver, Carl Dempsey, it was an attack that as a fan base we really didn't get to see the best of, which was such a shame. But how was it for you playing in that, because you were such a big part of it as well?
It was really good. It was really good. Obviously, again, that we had a good push, and like you said, obviously we had Jordan on the right, who had a really good season. Obviously, V had a good season. Obviously, I felt I had a good season as well. Would have liked to probably started more games than I did. Obviously, a lot of it was off the bench, which is a really difficult thing, because as any player will say, if you're in and out, you just don't get that flow. You don't get, for whatever reason, manager's decision, whatever it is, just need to sort of run the games. So it was a good season. I enjoyed it. Got a few goals. So yeah, no, it was good. It was a good.
I think 2 games in particular I remember where you played really well on both occasions. There was the home game against Bristol Rovers, where I think you got a double. You unfortunately missed a penalty. The other one was the 3-0 demolition at Lincoln. I think you got a goal, and I think you assisted Carl as well on that day as well.
Yeah.
2 great performances from yourself. The Bristol Rovers one must have been a bit of a disappointing one by the end, because you got the 2 goals, but the penalty just didn't go your way. Of
course.
Yeah, it was.
I was just obviously thinking back to that season. Yeah, there was a few performances that I was happy with, a few that I weren't happy with. But no, it was a really good season. It was like, looking back as well on it, I guess you don't really appreciate it until it's gone, I guess. But yeah, that was a good season. I just wish we'd like push for the playoffs, I guess.
Yeah, I think the following season, John, this is where, as a fan base, we were a little bit baffled, because obviously the big players started to leave. Jordan left, Connor Ogilvie left. Obviously, you were transfer listed. How did that, after having such a good season, and to be honest, yeah, if we got in the playoffs, don't think anyone would have really argued. How did you feel as a set of players seeing those leave, and then obviously what happened to you as well?
So seeing the players leave, that's part, again, that's like part of football. I feel like the most important part is obviously bringing in the new recruits, getting to gel quickly, because obviously, like you said, with Connor, very good player, Jordan, very good players. These are like really good players. So to replace them would have been hard anyway.
Yeah.
But so we brought them in, and then once again, unfortunately, COVID hit us again in pre-season. I think that really sort of affected us. I think we were off for like 10 days. 10 days in pre-season.
It went right for the group, didn't it? Pretty sure it went right for the group, didn't it?
Yeah, like everyone. Like, we just didn't. No one trained. No one trained for like the 10 days. And in pre-season, that's where you get your sort of your base of fitness, your base of tactical slash. Especially so when you got new players, I guess that's like especially a vital time to nail down, right, as a manager, this is how I play. This is what we're going to do. This is how we've been successful. And yeah, we did do it, of course, during the course of the season. But then during the course of the season, we were just getting injuries left, right, and centre. Like I picked up an injury, and it was Colchester actually. Colchester game away, a friendly game we had in pre-season, and
yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
I came away from the game. I carried on playing. I played, but I came away injured, and like I guess didn't put it to bed or didn't sort the situation out quick enough. And from myself, should I say, always trying to play, always trying to train, even though it was never really right. So yeah, again, that was frustrating. So obviously having lack of pre-season and then obviously picking up the injury, it just felt like it was just forever ongoing. So it was just, it's a real strange one.
It's a crazy campaign because the injuries like kept continuing. Like before you were here and after you'd left, they still kept happening. And but right at the start of the season, I went to two away games. It was Plymouth and Wimbledon, which were both, I think it was a Saturday, Tuesday turnover. And even then, that's when we just come off of the COVID issues. We looked at a team that are at least 2 to 3 weeks behind everyone else. We didn't look like physically we could really compete with them. I know we lost the Plymouth game, didn't we, in injury time, but we drew so on the basis it's not that bad, but we didn't look a lot behind everyone else. And I think that's a theme that we just couldn't get away from throughout the course of the season, because everything, once we got one injured player back fit, you lose another 2. It's just
it was. Again, I'm putting it down to the pre-season. I feel like because we had such an up and down pre-season, because especially with the COVID, you'd have some that would come back at certain different times. So like, it was a really strange season, for the group and for myself. Because like I said, picking up the injury, we didn't diagnose it until very late, if that makes sense. We were always thinking it was a certain thing when it wasn't, which was, again, frustrating on my part, on everyone's part. So, yeah.
Yeah, obviously, John, you briefly mentioned him, the manager, Steve Evans. Obviously, he was the manager that signed you for the Gills and that you played under right up until kind of you left for Colchester. So I think you experienced Steve Lovell for a little bit before you left. But it was predominantly Steve Evans. Just give us an insight into. I think your smile says it all. But just give us an insight into how best you can on what he's like as a manager and also the relationship that you've had.
What he's like as a manager, he's been a successful one. That like his record says it for himself. So he's done well. As a manager, he has his own way of doing things. He has his style of coaching, style of managing. Obviously, what you see on the pitch is basically what we get. You know, he's very loud. He's upset. He'll let you know about it. In my opinion, sometimes not always needed or warranted, but that's his style. You know, I've come against managers that are the opposite, really quiet and go about their business in a different way. So, like I said, he's had success in the past doing it. So that's what he's not going to change. That's who he is, sort of thing. Working under him, difficult at times, but like I said, I feel like I'm someone that can sort of handle both, whether it's a quiet manager or whether he's screaming and shouting. I can sort of hold my own ground. So yeah, we got on, hence why he wouldn't have signed me. I guess a little bit of friction towards the end because of stuff that I put in the papers that I wasn't happy with. Obviously, he was frustrated, I guess, with me being injured, especially looking back at a crucial time. Obviously, the team was not doing well. Obviously, needed players and bodies, and people get injured left, right, and centre.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was an interesting time.
On Evans, he's sort of like, I think from a fan's perspective, he's a bit like what strikers are to some clubs. A bit that you think of people like Luis Suarez and Diego Costa. It's like you hate him if they're played against you, but if they're for your team, you probably love them. And I think he was a bit like that for the most part. He was here. I think every opposition fan we played against would hate him, but because he was our manager and the way he was, we loved it. I did want to ask about, you said the injury you had like sort of towards probably like November, December time. Steve Evans did come out to the press and actually say that he didn't see any sign of any injury, but you were still going to be out. How did that make you feel at the time? Because it sounded sort of from he just didn't think you were injured.
Say that again, sorry? That last part?
But it seemed like from a fan point of view, like listening, it just sounded like he was trying to say he didn't actually think you were injured.
So this is the issue that I had. Obviously, this injury, like I said, that you're saying it was November, December, I've had since Colchester in pre-season. So any game that I was playing within that time, I was feeling it. And so I think the Plymouth game, I played in that game. I started that game and came off at half-time. But it's because I couldn't play anymore. I told you, at half-time, he said, "How you been?" I said, "I'm done, like, I'm in pain." And I guess he was just a bit frustrated with it because I'd come back into training. I might train and say, "You know what, it feels all right." But then like 2-3 days later, it'll be sore again. And the scan, so obviously he put that stuff in the paper, whenever that was, you said November, December. And that's basically what I said, exactly what you said. It feels like you're basically telling me that you do not believe that I'm injured. It feels like you're saying that I'm a liar in a nutshell. That's what you're basically putting out there, that I'm lying about an injury. That frustrated me. Obviously, we spoke about it. We hashed it out. Obviously, he gave what he said. He said it was misprinted or whatever he was saying, but cool, we hashed it out. And then obviously we've managed to find out what was actually wrong with me in the end. And basically I had sort of like a floating bone in my ankle. So the scans wouldn't pick it up. So that was his issue. His issue was that the scans were saying that I was getting inflammation in it. And I got injections in the ankle, but that didn't work. So, but in the end, it took like a special sort of scan to show what the issue was. And that got sorted in the end. So I've come back from that playing, and then obviously got another injury on my hamstring. This is more towards before I left, which again, another frustrating one. Yeah, he also put out the babysitting issues as well.
Yeah, remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, just little things. Obviously, that's where I felt obviously the relationship started to get a bit topsy-turvy, because like I said, everyone has their own way of doing things, but like I said, there's just certain things you don't really do.
Because yeah, going back to the question, yeah, not only was it tarnishing your relationship with the manager and the management, it was tarnishing your relationship with the supporters, wasn't it? And you had no sort of opportunity or chance to even speak out and tell them what was going on.
That was probably the most frustrating thing for me, because obviously as players you you know, you can hear stuff, you can feel the energy. And obviously I felt like it came because of stuff that was being said. If obviously fans feel a player's faking injury, he doesn't want to be there. Any player doesn't want to be at club, the fans don't want you there either. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that was the frustrating part. For me, obviously, it was, like I said, the babysitting issue, the scans showing nothing, effectively calling me sort of like a liar. I just felt like it was an unfair position he's putting me in, to be honest with you, because, like I said, I was playing with an injury from Colchester to November up until the hammy injury, but nothing said about that. We found out what was wrong with my ankle. Nothing said about that. To put things right, if that makes sense, from his side. Babysitting issues, obviously, I'm not even going to go into that, but again, that's come from something he's done as a manager. So it's just really frustrating because from the fans' point of view, all you're seeing is, oh, the manager's saying he's not injured, he must not be injured. Well, what good is it for me to not play? What good does it do me? I want to do well, I want to be out there and score goals. I want to obviously show what I can do and more, which I don't think I really got a chance to do at Gillingham for whatever reasons that happened. Yeah, so it was a tough one. It was a tough experience.
Yeah.
In terms of Evans, obviously, I think it was a game away at Cheltenham in an FA Cup replay. It might have been that was the day it broke about Stevenage being interested in taking him on, and obviously, it's only so afterwards I think that he did leave, and obviously through that sort of period we'd lost 4-0 at home to Ipswich, we'd conceded 7 at home to Oxford, which for any fan to see that at your home ground is, you know, words can't even describe it really. Did you feel it was a bit of maybe at that point Evans probably, because we've had this conversation before on different shows about the chairman and Evans, where we felt that maybe if Evans had gone when the Stevenage interest was first there and we got Neil Harrison earlier, we might have had a better chance of staying up. Do you think that maybe we waited a little bit too long to let Evans go from the...
So in my opinion, yeah, I feel like the decision, I think it just should have been made earlier. Obviously, if it shouldn't have taken so long. I feel like from speaking to the players that were there, because obviously I left just before Neil Harris came, and everything was literally 180. Everything changed. Everything was done a different way, I'm going to put. So I personally thought, as they feel, like if it was done probably a little bit earlier, then yeah, at the end of the day, it was goal difference. So if it's a 1-0 loss to Ipswich, you stay up. If it's a 3-0 loss to Oxford, you stay up. And that's obviously the fine margins that football is. And if you look back on it now, you think, oh, 7, but if it was 3, you stay in the league, and that's a massive. That's like obviously what everyone wants to do, and that's the aim. So in a nutshell, yeah, because obviously he came in, and the proof's in the pudding. He came in and he got the points. Everyone thought that it was done and dusted. He's come in and he's done excellent, to be fair.
Yeah, no, yeah, he's been outstanding. And I'm sure you probably look back on it, and I think maybe had he walked in 4 or 5 weeks earlier, you might have still been there. You might have still been in that dressing room. And so
yeah.
I think I feel more frustrated, and I think what probably doesn't add up as well is that Evan said about the recruitment and things like that. That you look at the squad from the year before that you were part of, and a squad that ended up going down. I think it was chalk and cheese between the level of ability. I think John, just being part of that dressing room, was the damage already done before Neil walked through the door?
To an extent, because obviously I still believe if, like you said, he walked through earlier with those same players, they stay up.
Yeah, so, I suppose. Yeah.
In terms of the recruitment and squad, I don't think it. Yeah, a little bit, of course, but I don't think it was. We had a good squad, in my opinion. We had good players. but a lot of the time they were injured at various points.
Yeah.
And so maybe the depth in the squad, maybe not what he wanted, but in terms of the actual players that we had, I felt were more than capable of doing the job. And it proved when obviously the manager come in and did what he did and took it to the last day of the season. So within the dressing room, we always like confident in our ability, confident in the players that we had, the quality that we had, the knowing that we could obviously cause teams problems. Yeah, so I guess it's just a frustrating one because obviously a lot of them are still there or was there when Gills went down. So it's sad. It's a sad day because I wanted the best for him as well.
Yeah, the timings were sort of all over the place anyway. When Neil came in, he came in on transfer deadline day, and I think he had about 4 or 5 hours to try and get some players. And he got Ben Thompson, which is one great signing to have, but it's nowhere near enough time to even make the slightest bit of impact. And I think although you weren't here for that part of the season, I think what gave us the most issues is we just could not score goals. 13 home was all season. I think 3 of them were penalties as well. Which
13 what?
13 home goals all season.
Was it?
Yeah.
And
wow. Yeah.
3 were penalties, so 10 from open play. And when you have those sort of stats, and you see issue with bringing in someone like Neil Harris, who did incredibly well to get us as close as we did. But you just think if we'd given him, even brought him in another day or two earlier, what we could have maybe done in the window. But so high. I've said this a lot of the time on previous shows, just the timings in all aspects of this season just seem to have been completely off, and it's cost us really.
Yeah, I agree.
John, you obviously left. I think you left around the 27th of January. Was that right? Around that time?
Quite late, yeah.
It was quite late, wasn't it? Yeah. How did that move come about to Colchester? Because obviously you spent that couple of weeks with Steve Lovell. How was? Yeah. My first question: How was Steve? How was Steve in that couple of weeks that you?
Steve was great. I think he came in. He understood that obviously the boys were frustrated, needed guidance. Obviously, I think the last game might have been the Ipswich game.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. So I felt like, especially within the camp, they just felt just didn't have a way of playing, didn't have a structure, didn't have whatever it was. And he came in and tried to give us that. He did give us that. Obviously, come in like the diamond. Again, just did things differently to Steve Evans in his own way. I'm sure he did something different to Neil Harris. So it was nice. It was like nice to come in. It's a different sort of character as well. Not really a shouter, just more of a talker to you. So I guess it was a breath of fresh air. So yeah, he was good. He come in and did the best with what he could, basically.
Colchester now. Firstly, how did that move come about to Colchester? And secondly, we are in League Two. So how's it different now in terms of the level above in League One?
Okay, well, I think the move came about probably a couple of weeks before. They showed interest in taking me on loan and stuff. Obviously, the position they were in was like questionable. But again, obviously, with my position, they were really keen. They wanted help. Seeing obviously last time that I was in the league with Lincoln, we got promoted, so they thought it would be really helpful to have that experience as well. So yeah, it just fitted. Obviously, I felt wanted. I felt wanted by the club, and I guess the opposite by Gills. That's basically it. Obviously, there were other options as well, but this just worked out the best. To be honest, yeah.
And obviously, we're going to be playing against you next year for Colchester, so that'll be an interesting battle. What do Gills fans expect from League Two from League Two next season?
I think how can I describe it? So football in general, I guess, is like the main difference for me is is the quality in terms of. So I feel like the top end of the league, when we played against them, I thought, wow, these are really good. And then I'm comparing them to obviously teams that are playing in League One, so your Ipswich's, your Wigan's, who are at the top of that league. So I'm sort of just comparing all sorts. And I guess the main real difference that I've seen is the quality at the quality at each end, basically, which is obviously Ipswich, more like the cutthroat. Your Oxfords, they'll beat you 7, whereas your same sort of teams in the league, maybe the high end, still play around, do really well, but maybe might not punish you as much.
Yeah.
So, but then if you get into League One, your Ipswich, or all the top end, they'll punish you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the main difference when I say top of the league, and then from top end down, it's all pretty much similar.
Yeah. Okay. Just to wrap it off, you've been really open and honest tonight, and being outstanding, and finally got to have your say on the way that Gills' career went, and that's why one of the reasons why we got you on was to finally have to give you a voice on how it went. Just to round it off, sum up your time at the football club the best you can.
Oh, it was eventful. Just good. It was eventful. The main part, good and bad, but that's football. You get good and bad in your career, in life. So I wouldn't have any other way. Obviously, I always wanted to play for Gillingham, to be honest with you. Obviously moved to Gravesend when I was 10, but basically the local team. So it was nice to obviously represent Gillingham. I just wish it, I guess, turned out differently, you know? Yeah, I just wish it turned out differently. Wish we would have got into the playoffs in the first season or the second season as well. Wish we didn't have such a poor season this season. Yeah, I just wish it was different. Wish it ended better, to be honest. But yeah, you win some, you lose some.
Yeah, very true. Okay, John, you've been brilliant tonight. You've been an outstanding guest and been so open and honest and in the way things went. So thank you for that, guys. Thank you for watching. You've been listening to the ME7 podcast with our special guest, John Akinde, this evening.